Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews. Yes, it is finally time to get into the good stuff and hear the 10 movies of 2023 that left me kicking and screaming on the way out. This is the top 10 worst movies of 2023. But we should start with a couple of honourable mentions that weren't quite bad enough to make it onto the list, but still bad enough to be mentioned. Those three movies would be The Nun 2, The Meg 2, and The Pope's Exorcist. What could possibly have been worse than those three movies? They were disasters. Well, let's get into it. In 10th, it's Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So, this was fucking awful. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is easily one of the worst movies in 2023. I mean, first of all, how bloody dare they? But secondly, it's just fantastically shit. I know that's not much from a critic and I should use my words better, but sometimes, just sometimes, shit is the word. Watch it and you'll see what I mean. 5 minutes in. Yep. He was right. This is shit. Told you. I mean, where do we start with this one? The porn star-esque performances, the total and utter lack of decent writing from start to finish as it fails miserably to deliver anything exciting to even the simplest of plodding plots imaginable. The makeup is awful, the horror is woeful, but I do have to admit, I bought it on DVD. For cheap. I'm not an idiot. Because I must admit, I had a blast with this movie for all of the wrong reasons. This is so bad it's actually good. It is horrifically dogshit in every sense of the word, and yet I would gladly watch this again with a few beers and a few friends. This is definitely an accidental contender for Comedy of the Year, and on that level, and on that level alone, it is worth checking out, but my god, make sure you've got some drinks with you because you are going to need it. And in 9th place, it's The Flood. The Flood really did take the biscuit when it came to being arguably one of the worst made films I've ever laid eyes upon. It consistently charges ahead despite being utterly unable to perform even the simplest of tasks. The film struggles with audio consistently, with awful dubs fitted throughout. To say that the CGI is miserably poor isn't going far enough. This would be laughed out the room 10 years ago. Talk about cheap, lazy and outdated. This movie is shameless. It can't even get the layering right when people interact with the crocodiles, and it can't even be bothered to just get an actor in a police uniform and take a picture. No, instead we're going to Photoshop someone's face over a Google image of a policeman. Good Lord, give me strength. All whilst missing the only real selling point that this movie ever potentially offered. How this isn't a totally cheesy B-movie about prisoners literally fighting off crocodiles in a prison that's slowly flooding, I really do not know. These prisoners are cowards. I wanted to see one of them karate kick a croc. Come on, have some fun with it. Realise the gold that you have. But no, it's a piss poorly written sludge of shit when the characters are dull, forgettable stereotypes that you don't care about. It's performing the daytime TV levels of drama. It's pathetically hopeless. Granted, it will give you several laughs at its many misfortunes, but it isn't quite as enjoyable as Winnie the Pooh, at least not for me. I mean, I didn't rush out to get this one on DVD, so that's something to consider, and I can't say I'm in a particular rush to watch it again. It really does say quite a lot that these two small-budget crimes against cinema are still somehow not as bad as the next 8 big-budget, experienced showcases that are yet to come. They really should be ashamed of themselves. In 8th place, it's No Hard Feelings. This movie seemed to split audiences straight down the middle. Some seemed to really go with it and enjoy it. I unfortunately was on the other side of the room who thought this movie was the most confused mess I've seen in a very long time. If you reverse the roles in this perverted little piece, suddenly you see how fucked up this script really is. But when a woman does these things, apparently it's comedy. Come on. Who wrote this? A 13-year-old boy who was hoping he might have had Jennifer Lawrence grinding on his lap? It's so stupid. I hated the entire experience. Well, except for maybe one thing. Am I right, lads? And credit to Jennifer Lawrence. You can't argue she is certainly committed to the role, but I for one feel like this is an all new low for her personally. I don't think comedy is her strong suit. Shouting and screaming with dramatic pratfalls isn't funny, and I just found it sad to see her stealing from what is usually Melissa McCarthy's stick. I just couldn't get on board with this film. I thought it was warped and weird, with unlikable characters in unrelatable and stupid situations that would never happen, and yet they still somehow play out with painful obviousness, all whilst failing miserably to even get a slight smirk out of me. God, this film annoyed me. I just don't see the point to it. It's got nothing to say, no point to exist, nothing to remember it by. Except for one thing, am I right, lads? It is a waste of time, it is a waste of money. Don't bother. In 7th, it's The Little Mermaid. Disney continue to persist with these lifeless and soulless remakes of beloved classics that still hold up to this day. Why? I don't know. Last year it was Pinocchio. This year it's The Little Mermaid. They just refuse to learn. They simply do not care. God, I pray they don't touch The Fox and the Hound, although I know they will. This remake of The Little Mermaid thinks that just hitting the plot beats in a very perfunctory manner with no charm or magic or personality is exactly the way to go forward. And what they have added to it actually somehow takes away from the material. I didn't ever need Aquafina as a rapping seagull, or whatever the hell it was. And what the hell did you do to Flounder and Sebastian? Realistic isn't imaginative. It's dull. It's lifeless, especially in something like this. This is a kids' movie. Have some fun with it, for God's sake, would you? You know, maybe try having a bit of imagination. The CGI is bad, the performances are bad, the songs are bad. It was a truly painful experience to sit through. So painful, in fact, that it has sadly stayed with me, and that is why it absolutely deserves to take the number 7 spot in worst movies of 2023. In 6th, it's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dogshit. Speaking of Disney, here we go again. Deja vu, anyone? Yes, almost everything I just said about The Little Mermaid absolutely transfers over to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dogshit. Why are we reviving this so late in the game? Let this franchise rest. Let Harrison Ford rest. Stop being lazy and relying on old proven IPs and actually come up with something new, fresh and interesting for a change. Please, Disney? It's lazy, it's boring, it looks like garbage with awful CGI, it's paced horrifically, it's painfully long and so unengaging. It's accidentally funny at times with no logic or believability to any of it, offering one of the goofiest, dumbest and yet wildest endings of 2023. Harrison Ford can't be arsed, the scriptwriters can't be arsed, its whole general vibe is just ugh. It feels like it was a chore to make this, and now it's a chore for us viewers to sit through it. But to be honest, the most disappointing aspect to this movie for me is I actually rate James Mangold as a director. I don't know what happened here. I can only hope he's doing someone a favour, or maybe someone's got some dirt on him and has forced him to do this. Because if this is the sort of shit I'm supposed to expect from him here on out, yeah, I'm concerned. That's quite the fall off a cliff, buddy. But it wasn't quite as bad as the next one. In 5th place, it's Exorcist Believer. There seems to be a running theme in this year's top 10 worst of the year, doesn't there? Yet another soulless tarnishing of a beloved product for the sake of making money. I'll keep it light because not only do a lot of the same complaints apply, but my review that you wonderful viewers supported fantastically really does get everything I need to say about this hateful piece of shit off my chest in one clean blow. But seeing as we're here, let's go again, hey? Exorcist Believer did nothing but highlight the pure stupidity of Hollywood today, utterly misunderstanding the product they're dealing with and just looking at the numbers instead. That's exactly how and why this was given to David Gordon Green, and exactly why it never should have been. The recent Halloween franchise did relatively well at the box office overall, and therefore any remake of horror must go to him apparently, despite the fact they're completely different from each other, and this is the same guy who made Your Highness. I actually despise this movie. It's so lazy, it's so incoherent, it makes no sense, it's toilet water compared to the masterpiece that it so shamelessly bashes and clearly hates for some reason. This is an abysmal movie. I would need paying solid, hard cash to sit through this misery again. Rest in peace, William Friedkin. I can only take some small piece in the fact that you never got to see this utter horseshit. In 4th place, It's Ghosted. This movie made me make the Sideshow Bob groan noise. And rightly so, because Ghosted is such a lazy and tired cliche of an experience. The script feels like it was written back in the early 2000s and rips off cheesy movies that aren't even good themselves. Ana de Armas and Chris Evans have zero chemistry, which is hilarious considering they once dated. You don't like them, you don't want them to get together, you don't even want them to make it to the end successfully. It's one of those films where it's so damn hateful, you actually kinda hopelessly side with the bad guys just to try and find some kicks and enjoyment from this generic, poorly made trash. You've seen this already, you've seen it a million times before, and you've seen it done a million times better. This is the most boring rendition they could have possibly come up with this already dead and tired concept of will they, won't they, Mr. and Mrs. Spy movies. Tired, boring, moving on. Taking the bronze medal for worst movie of 2023. It's House Party. My god, this was such a lifeless experience, I almost damn near forgot it even happened. This was so poorly made considering it actually had a budget and backing, and after all this is also a remake. Shocker. The acting is awful, the sets are horrible, the humour was enough to make me slump in my chair. The word that comes to mind with this new rendition of House Party is amateurish. It felt like something you'd expect from YouTubers or the Disney Channel from back in the day. It is a complete blank fog to me as to what even happened in this film. I just remember suffering it. It was so miserable in fact that I am already looking forward to the fact that once this list is complete, I can finally remove the final fluttering trace of this pile of crap that remains in my brain, and it can finally fade away and die. Brighter, happier days can return, but sadly we still have another two to go. Getting the silver medal. It's Expendables. I mean, we're already off to a pretty bad start with such a laughable title. Expendables is a total car crash from start to finish that takes itself far too seriously for how piss poorly it's been put together. The acting is atrocious. It's like watching paint dry. In fact, I'd rather watch paint dry, especially when it comes to the likes of Megan Fox and 50 Cent. Christ above, it's painful to sit through. The CGI and green screen is hilariously bad. The action is tame and boring, with all of it just being about Jason Statham enlarging his ego, whilst the rest of the crew literally sit around and do nothing. This has got to be one of the worst scripts of the year, with some of the worst acting of the year. It might give you one or two inadvertent laughs, but my god, it is not worth it. And yet, one movie still managed to be an even worse experience than this total train wreck, taking the gold medal by quite some distance. It's Strays. My god. What did I do in a past life to deserve this? I knew I'd hate it, I knew it would be awful, but I didn't know it would be this awful. I didn't know I would hate it this deeply. This movie is the antithesis of funny. It's lazy, it's stupid, it's just dogs being rude. Are we 12-year-old boys on the school playground here? What are we doing? What is funny about the movie is the fact that it's rated an 18, so it can't even cater to its 12-year-old minded audience in the first place. It's insulting to your intelligence. It's basically saying to you that it thinks you're thick as shit. Because dogs say fuck, so me go ha ha. This movie can only wish it was as good as a bad episode of Family Guy, with all of its random gags and cutaways, many of which make zero sense whatsoever. I still don't understand the Dennis Quaid gag. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And if you're dumb enough to laugh at a dog swearing, then maybe you'll laugh at Dennis Quaid in a tree. It didn't even come close to getting a laugh out of me. I will give Strays some credit. It did have the balls to go out in the blazing fireball of shit that it so gladly promised. It's just tragic that the movie presents that idea proudly, when I couldn't help but bask in the disaster that it was. Somehow Strays just continued to outdo itself. It's almost impressive at how shit this film got. It's beyond outdated. This wouldn't even hold a torch to, I don't know, Kangaroo Jack, another talking animal movie, which was, what, 2003? Yeah, this makes Kangaroo Jack look like an all-out masterpiece. We are truly scraping the very bottom of the barrel here and then picking it out from under our fingernails. It's not funny, it's lifeless, this story is dull and stupid and offers a weird message at times regarding the positives of having stray dogs out on the street. I couldn't possibly conceive a worse movie myself, even if I was paid to do so, and frankly, I don't feel I would need to do it now that we have Strays. There's no competition. This deservedly takes the crown for the worst movie of 2023. Whew, another year done. Thank you for watching. Please do hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section as well. What was your least favourite movie of 2023? What do you think of my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't had enough of this crazy ginger, you can always click on these suggested videos right here and get yourself lost in an IMO wormhole. But if not, take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.